Senzo Meyiwa murder trial continues this morning. Sergeant Thabo Musia, the first state witness, is still undergoing cross-examination by the defense. It was an explosive day yesterday as the defense revealed it had an eyewitness who revealed that singer Kelly Khumalo was the one who fired the shot that killed the football star in 2014. Let's go to Silindelo Masikane, who is at the High Court in Pretoria to give us an update. Slee, let's start with your interview with Kelly Khumalo's lawyer, Magdalene Munsami. I know you asked her how Khumalo reacted to hearing what was happening in court. What does she say?
Well, before I get to that interview, Masiko, we've just got a few more minutes to go before court is supposed to start, and I just want to speak to one of the representatives from AfriForum. Of course, we know that AfriForum is on a watch brief for the Meyiwa family. I am joined by Barry Bateman. Thank you so much for your time. I just want to quickly get your reaction with regards to those explosive submissions we heard yesterday. Just what's your view in terms of the credibility as well as the allegations of a second investigation, a second docket?
Well, first off, on the claims that there is an eyewitness now that witnessed Kelly Khumalo murdering Senzo Meyiwa, it came as a surprise to us. I think the starting point for us is, firstly, are we going from the same understanding of what an eyewitness is? We are familiar with the evidence that is in the docket, and our understanding is there's no such affidavit or witness within the police docket that can be considered an eyewitness. Nevertheless, this is a very, very serious submission that has been made to the court. We do hope that if it is indeed true that this is presented to the court. We didn't get any name or any information of who this eyewitness is. There are 5 people who are sitting in jail. This is evidence which could potentially exonerate them. It should be presented to the court so that justice can take its course. On the question relating to separate cases, we've heard all about different numbers of dockets and so on. For the purposes of this trial, there's just one docket. That is what the state has based its case on. It is relying on just that single one related to the murder in 2014. And for the purposes here, and we are confident, I must note as well, that having looked at or understanding what is contained in that docket, that the 5 men who are in the dock here are in fact the correct people who should be prosecuted for this crime.
A lot of concerns being raised by the defense on the treatment of the crime scene, allegations of contamination, tampering.
Well, you know, defense counsel will always kick up all sorts of dust when it relates to a crime scene, and you know, there might be some difficulties here or there, but what we are hopeful for is to move on to the forensic evidence. We understand that there is very good evidence which ties the accused not only to the scene but to the murder weapon that was used. So we are hopeful that we can actually move through. This is crime scene evidence, and we can move on to the forensic evidence that we believe is considerably stronger.
And of course, this affects the family, the Meyiwa family, of course, watching these proceedings closely. How are they feeling so far?
Well, you know, we've got people in our team that are keeping them abreast of developments, keeping in contact with them. Of course, it's very difficult. We've made a decision at this stage. We're not going to bring them up at the moment, which is why we're in court here to keep a close eye on proceedings. But we are informing them of the developments and just keeping them abreast and I suppose assuring them that, you know, the wheels of justice certainly do grind along quite slowly, but we are here to keep an eye on it.
Are you concerned as AfriForum that there doesn't seem to be an indication from the state whether they're going to be calling any of those who were actually in the house on that evening?
Well, what we understand from the indictment is that the people that are in the house are listed as witnesses in the indictment. So they are available there. We don't have any concerns at this stage. Of course, we're watching closely what the state is doing, and you know, we are respectful of their decisions on how they manage their case. So no concerns at this stage, but we will be keeping a close eye.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Masiko, that's Barry Bateman on behalf of AfriForum on a watch brief for the Meyiwa family. Now back to that interview with Magdalene Munsami, who represents Kelly Khumalo in this matter. She says, of course, that her client is quite concerned with the allegations that have been made, but she did call her to calm her down, to say that they will consult and chart the way forward in terms of how they're going to address these allegations. We do understand that there's a possibility of legal recourse that Kelly Khumalo may take in terms of the allegations before her, but what we understand from Ms. Khumalo is that she wants her day in court. She insists that she wants to say her piece, but also what was quite interesting coming out of that interview with Magdalene Munsami Monsami, is that those in the house, in terms of the docket that's before court now and the 5 men accused, there was no identity parade done in terms of those in the house identifying these men. But let's just take a listen to what she had to say.
At first, when I did not want to call her, she was on set at the moment. I sent her a text, I sent her the clip, and I just requested her to just breathe, okay? When we had spoken, her reaction was, I'm a mother. My child was 3 months old at the time. How dare he? What do they want from me? Because it started, and this is where I gave you the background of the intimidation. We must hand her over to the police, etc. And she then said to me, we are going to now break the silence. So this is where we are at. She's confident. Look, Kelly, you know she's a person of high spirit. You don't get to that level without character development and building.
Slee, quite interesting what Barry Bateman said to you there in terms of there being only one docket that the state is looking at. And so I wonder why the prosecution didn't actually object to this new apparent information that Advocate Defo was bringing. Did Magdalene Monsami speak anything about this whole thing about 2-3 dockets in this case?
Well, we know, of course, that with this particular matter, it does seem apparent that there were 2 separate investigations that took place. There are 2 different dockets that set out 2 different theories on what happened on that night, as well as 2 different sets of suspects. What we do know, though, at this point is that the NPA pursued the 636 docket, which is the docket which points to these men in the dock, the 5 men accused of his murder, as the ones who have a case to answer to. We know that the discretion in terms of prosecuting does lie with the NPK, so it does seem as though they felt that there was a strong case against the men that we see in the dock today. But I have written to the NPA to clarify the status of the second docket and whether they are still going to pursue it and the reasons as to why actually it wasn't pursued, and rather the 636 docket being the one that's pursued. I just want to move out of shot, Maseko, to give you a picture. We are a few minutes away from court proceedings, wanting to actually officially beginning at 11:30. We know that the judge had asked for a late start because he had to deal with another matter, but we do have all counsel in court. Advocate Defo is here. I see Advocate Zandile Msholoolo, who began her cross-examination yesterday finally, as well as State Prosecutor George Baloyi. We also see just behind them that the screen which Advocate Msholoolo is using to lead with her cross-examination is also being set up. At this point, we're just waiting for the accused to come up from the holding cells.
All right, Silindelo Masikane, of course, we'll come back to you or to your picture along with your camera colleague there as soon as that trial gets underway. As you heard from Slee, we're expecting the trial to resume this morning at around 11:30. It is already 11:31 or so, but as soon as it gets underway and the accused start walking up from the holding cells, we'll take you there live. In the meantime, here's a short break. Still to come on all